Sony Michel leads a revitalized rushing attack for the Patriots. My name is Mike Petraglia, joined here inside MetLife Stadium by Evan Lazar and Alex Barth, of course, of CLNS Media. This Patriots postgame report brought to you by 1in100. Go to 1in100.co now for your chance to win in a raffle killer Pats, Bruins, and Celtics tickets, as well as tickets to the best concerts around New England. Go to 1in100.co now. All right, guys, Sony Michel, 21 carries, 133 yards, and a touchdown. The 133 yards, a career high. No surprise there, his third 100-yard game of the season. But beyond Sony Michel, the bigger story to me is over 200 yards rushing. The Patriots really exerted their will when they needed to in the second half.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this really starts with the guys up front. We can give Sony some credit and some love later, but
well, he wants us to give the guys up front credit. We heard
he understands. Yes. He's going to go and buy those guys a Rolex or a steak dinner out in New York City tonight because he gets it. He understands that that offensive line today whooped the Jets' defensive front from the start to finish, pretty much the entire game, both when Tom Brady dropped back to pass and when he handed it off to Sony Michel. They did a great job up front, and Bill Belichick mentioned it as well. The receivers, the tight ends, James Devlin, obviously, a couple key blocks by Cordell Patterson and Julian Edelman on some big runs. Those are what spring those like 5- and 6-yard runs into 30-yard runs when you get the receivers blocking downfield and taking care of the DBs in the secondary to get those guys sprung. It was really all around 11 guys executing, and I think another thing that I found interesting that Belichick talked about was how Josh McDaniels makes the running game and the blocking schemes up front look exactly the same as the play-action schemes.
Yep.
And you kind of have, it's very difficult to decipher for the defense, and that's what makes this Patriots offense unique, and it's what makes it click, is you get that running game going, then you get the play-action passing game going off of that, and Brady's so good with the fakes and the decision-making off of the play-action that you end up having a game where you have almost 500 yards of total offense.
Sony Michel very humble after the game. He's a rookie, and he's obviously been tuned up in the Patriot way and how rookies are supposed to handle themselves. But you could tell he was excited to talk about the team performance and opening up big lanes. First of all, I thought Sony Michel showed great vision today. He had 2 or 3 bursts of over 30 yards. He, of course, had that 40-yarder to open up the second half, which I thought was a tempo setter, Alex.
I think what you saw today, and even in some of the, and he's had some impressive performances this year, but even in the most impressive performances this year, until today we hadn't seen it, some of those things that really stood out in Georgia late in the season last year, the ball carrier vision, like you mentioned, being able to pick up the holes, the open field speed we hadn't really seen on display until today. I think, and it still continues to amaze me, and it's getting better and better. He's not a true power back. He's not LeGarrette Blount, right? He's not Mike Allstott, but he never gets pushed backwards. When he gets tackled, he's always the one falling forward for those 1 or 2 extra yards, and those yards make a difference. They add up. So I think, can we expect 130 yards every time out from Sony Michel? No, but he played well against a good defensive front, and knowing he's capable of this game, especially when you get later in the year. Remember what they used to be able to do with LeGarrette Blount when it gets cold and snowy in Foxborough, and you have a back that can bang heads like that. Knowing he's capable of this is going to be big down the road.
Obviously, Sony Michel had his career-high game, guys, with 133 yards. Let's not forget maybe one of the biggest runs of the game was James White. It was a 4-play touchdown drive that the Patriots actually took the lead 20-13 in this game in the third quarter, and it was James White with a big 24-yard run down the right sideline. How did you think James White looked running the ball?
Yeah, I think the best part about James White's ability to run the ball is his escapability. There's some instances in this game in particular where it looked like he was probably going to get stopped for a short gain or even no gain, and his ability to just dance out of those holes and get those extra yards and find the creases is a little bit more unique than what Sony Michel offers, which is more just burst and acceleration and that type of running style, slashing type running style. James White is, your jitterbug running back, and I thought that he did a really good job today in all 3 phases, and what I mean by that is, catching passes, obviously, pass blocking and some blitz pickup situations. They didn't blitz a ton today, but when they did, James White was very good there where he hasn't been in some weeks past, and obviously running the football, a couple of those runs he really made a couple guys miss and was able to kind of extend a run that maybe looked like a short gain into a longer gain.
Now, it's dangerous to do this, but judging by Twitter, on the third down play where the Patriots didn't get a first down and they go for a running play and don't get the conversion, Twitter loses their mind. Patriots fans on Twitter can lose their mind when that doesn't happen. They're all over Josh McDaniels. Yeah. And my point here is, okay, that Josh McDaniels is very, very patient with the running game. And today I think we saw the Patriots reap the benefits a little bit.
I think this is the first time this year that patience has paid off. You think back to last week against Tennessee, you think back to Detroit, and they struggled to run the ball from start to finish. But I think a lot of it is Sony's learning now, and he's becoming that wrecking ball back that even if he doesn't start strong, he's still going to do his damage. He's still going to wear down the defensive front and open things up later in the game. He never had to do that in college. That's a skill that will be very valuable to him now at the next level. He's starting to pick that up. And again, when you get into the playoffs, especially when it gets cold and it gets wet, it's that much more important to be able to do that.
And obviously I mentioned the 3rd and 2. That was, of course, in the third quarter. The play I'm referring to is when Sony Michel had his back bent backwards. Yeah. And it was not James White who got the call on 4th down. It was Cordero Patterson with the 2-yard run on 4th and 1. That just speaks to their confidence.
Yeah, I think the Jets defense coming into this game led the league in short yardage, stopping teams on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, those types of situations. And the Patriots were going to have some tough sledding in those types of short yardage situations, and they were able to get a few out, squeak that Cordell Patterson one out. There's one other one early on in the game where they were able to squeak one out too. I thought they held their own in those situations. Very good Jets front in that situation. Leonard Williams in the middle there, some big linebackers too that you have to move. It's difficult to do that sometimes. You got to give the defense a little bit of credit sometimes, every once in a while. I know Patriots fans don't really like to do that, but you have to give the defense a little bit of credit. But I thought overall, Sony coming back in the game after that little back scare that he had and running hard again and breaking off some of the bigger runs that he had in this game after that injury just kind of shows his toughness and shows the type of guy that he is and type of character that he has. I mean, really what I thought separated this game from other games for him was I thought that this was the best game for his burst and his acceleration. Once he hit that hole, he had some opportunities where I thought he was going to take one like 80 yards to the house here today. He was having those types of runs, and he was able to kind of cut back a few times and bounce around a little bit at the end of the run and gain some extra yardage. Those weren't the type of things that we were seeing. The offensive line did their job. They got the initial push, but once he got into that secondary, his vision and his acceleration and his burst and his running ability really took, full flight.
With over 200 yards of rushing, the Patriots run to daylight here on Sunday at MetLife Stadium in a 27-13 win. The Patriots move up to 8-3 on the year and now take on the Minnesota Vikings next Sunday at Gillette Stadium. This Patriots postgame report brought to you by 1-in-100. Go to 1in100.co today and register for your chance to win in a raffle tickets to the Patriots, Bruins, and Celtics, as well as some of the best concerts around New England. Do that for the cost of a pizza or even a large beer. Again, go to 1in100.co now and register. Inside MetLife Stadium, for Evan Lazar and Alex Barth, Mike Petraglia, CLNS Media.